Hey guys, my name is Nora Franch, and welcome to the podcast Grateful Blessed Mess, daily reflections for those in the 12 steps. I am a fellow 12-stepper and certified mindset coach, and I am here to introduce you to the value of mindset coaching in your 12-step journey. So if you feel like you are stuck in the steps, if you're slipping and sliding with your abstinence, mindset coaching may help you as it did me, and you can find me at catholicmindsetcoaching.com. These episodes are meant to invite you in to consider the truths of 12-step wisdom and to join in the very real struggle of living them in action. I hope that it feels almost like a mini meeting, and I invite you to contribute your own share on the Grateful Blessedness Facebook group to keep the discussion going. My comments are based on my own experience, so feel free to take what you like and leave the rest. But my hope is to encourage you on your own daily 12-step journey. As they say, you cannot stay clean on yesterday's shower. So without further ado, let's begin. We are reading from A Day at a Time, December 21st. Each of us in the program can in our own time and own way reach the triumphant spiritual awakening that is described in the 12th step. The spiritual awakening is a deep down knowledge that we are no longer alone and helpless. It's also a deep down awareness that we've learned certain truths that we cannot transmit to others so that perhaps they too can be helped. Am I keeping myself in constant readiness for the spiritual awakening that is certain to come to me as I practice the steps and surrender my will to my higher power's will? Today I pray, may I be steady, not expecting that my spiritual awakening will startle me like an alarm clock into sudden awareness of a higher power. It may settle on me so quietly that I may not recognize precisely when my moment of awareness comes. The clue may come in my desire to 12-step others. May I realize then that I have accepted the principles of the program and am at home with the spiritual transformation I feel in myself. Today I will remember my spiritual awakening is my first private moment with my higher power. That's beautiful. My spiritual awakening is my first private moment with my higher power. I really like that. So gosh, like where do you even begin? Personally, I know for sure that I am someone who had what they call in the big book, the educational variety of a spiritual awakening most of the time in my 12-step progress and in my general progression through. Now, I will say I've had moments of really hit over the head, just closeness with my higher power, I would say, in moments of prayer and, upon reflecting upon certain things with certain people. And I think that the longer I stay in program, the more of those that I have experienced. But overall, and if I look back on it, it's no, it's been a very, very slow progression. And I know people compare it to an onion all the time, but seriously, it's I think I'm oh yeah, totally connected. And then you realize you can go further up and further in, go a little deeper, a little deeper, a little raw, and you get, I feel like we're infinitely approaching the core of who we are with our higher power. And I don't know if it's possible to ever get to that core, on this side of heaven, because we are just constantly, our minds are so crazy. Our psychology is so interesting. And I think that we just still can lie to ourselves in little ways or not even be aware of our inner workings to such a degree that I don't think you can ever be entirely tuned in to yourself and who you are. And that's why we get to do this every day and we get to work on every day. And plus, something new is constantly happening that we have not yet experienced and need to work through. So it's we're living, each day is its own new experience every single day, each moment. We've never lived a single moment before. We just haven't. And, it may be a similar thing that's happening, but not every single detail is exactly the same as the last time it happened. And so I think there's just that potential for growth with really every experience, every moment in the day. That sounds overwhelming to me. So don't get lost in that. But I just think that, like they said, we've never arrived. We can't sit on our laurels simply because they're like going to be outdated and vintage by tomorrow. Anyway, so back to the 12th step specifically. And I do like to think of this podcast in a way as like part of me working my 12th step. And I think that I get like when I read that part about we have the desire to 12 step others. I do sponsor, but, and that's what 12 stepping is, just reaching out, being there for others. But often I'm realizing that like every single part of my life can be interwoven into a step. So I'm Catholic. When I pray, when I do spiritual reading and exercises, that's part of my 11th step. Step 10, as a kid, I was taught to do a nightly examen. I hated doing it. I never did it. I still am really bad at it. Examination of conscience at the end of the day, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. But step 10, which I still struggle, I struggle to just be like, and I'm tired. But we're supposed to do that at every day, at the end of every day. These things, I like when I'm working my like religious muscles, I can weave that into my step work. And when I am falling on my knees because I can't handle like the cravings or being pulled back towards this like emotional insobriety, whatever addictive behavior I'm in, then I know I get to fall on my higher power, and I call my higher power God. So like everything. So like what I'm trying to say is that in working the steps, I've come to see every facet of my life as part of the program. That's what I'm trying to say. Moving on. Excuse me. Sorry for the throat clearing. So they say here, the spiritual awakening is a deep down knowledge that we are no longer alone and helpless. And boom, that is the miracle. There was a lady when I first started who just said, stay until the miracle happens, Nora. Stay until the miracle happens. And I was always like, what miracle? Like, yes, obviously freedom from, food obsession or something. But I think it is this deep down knowledge that we are no longer alone and helpless. And I think what that is humility. It kind of, the steps just keep going back to that. And everything I'm reading, I feel like that could be like, they have the principles of each step. I almost feel like that could be the principle of literally every step. Technically, it's the one listed for step 7, but maybe I'll do a whole podcast one day about how humility is the spiritual principle of every single step. And, I'm not some genius. There's lots of spiritual masters who talk about humility, but I just think there's really something there. And so by keeping yourself in constant readiness for the spiritual awakening, as they recommend, I think that's a posture of hope. And that's something else I've really learned in program, is to learn how to have a posture of hope, first with my substance and then with my every single thing that I'm powerless over. With that, I pass. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. If you feel that mindset coaching could help you on your 12-step journey, please feel free to reach out and find me at catholicmindsetcoaching.com. But more than that, it's important to me to give listeners like yourself a place where you do not need to feel alone on your 12-step journey. And for that reason, I've created a Facebook group. It's called Grateful Blessed Mess. And it's a place where listeners can go to add their own commentary on the share for the day, in addition to my own, and for us just to have a conversation or start a back and forth where people can find support in their 12-step journey. This is not a replacement for 12-step work. This is something outside of the 12 steps. It is simply something that has a heart for the 12 steps and those who are in it. And so welcome. If you're here, chances are you may also be a bit of a mess, and I hope that you can learn to find some gratitude in the blessings that have come from your messes.